And we would also like to have male investors who respect this diversity and who are happy to have also a female vision on the development of the company. I give you 1 minute to convince the audience.
Well, thank you for not telling me that that's what's going to happen.
Surprise, surprise.
It sound right, boy.
Welcome to a new episode of More Than Models podcast. As you know, my name is Andreas. I'm the founder of modelmanagement.com. And today, my guest is Helena. Helena is recently assigned as the managing director, and she's managing the company together with Mark Charak. But this podcast today is very special. It's about behind the scenes of modelmanagement.com. So we have two people here talking about things that only our podcast audience will know. We talk about the modeling industry, of course, the trends. We talk about investment rounds because we are in the middle of an investment round right now. We are in the third round and it's very challenging in these times. And I would like to start to talk about Helena. I know you as my daughter. But now I have had the honor to see you working in this company, in the family company, since I think 3-4 years, and I'm amazed about your performance, the professionalism, and of course, as a proud father, I'm happy to have you here. And I think you should present yourself to the audience.
Thank you for that very flattering intro.
Of course.
Not very objective, maybe. I'm Helena, as you know, and I've been now at Model Management for a while, but in the last year, also as managing director, has been a very, very nice challenge, and well, something that I was familiar with because it was family founded, and I've been in the company for a while. But also because of my background, familiar with. I come in one way or the other. I've always been in the advertising world. When I was a child as a model, and then as I grew older and studied, I specialized more and more in marketing. First performance marketing, then influencer marketing. So let's say that I know the industry from different perspectives, not only from the modeling perspective or not only from the client perspective. And that gives me a good insight to now make decisions for the future of this company.
All right, so now let's talk about modelmanagement.com. Maybe we start with some numbers. What kind of numbers can we see today if you go on the website in terms of users, brands, castings, whatever? Impress our audience. I'm always impressed when I see it.
I think the most impressive number is that we have 2 million talents registered on the site.
Talents means?
Talents means models, but with models and content creators. And models, it doesn't only include the typical high fashion model, it includes all diversity of model profiles around the world. We have them in almost all countries that exist. We have users, but our main countries are the USA, UK, Spain, Germany, and France. This is where we have more or less 2/3 of our presence. And we have about 20,000 clients registered, so brands, also everywhere in the world. And the most impressive number, I think, is that we had over 100,000 castings already posted. And the castings, you can imagine them like the jobs on InfoJobs is an online casting. That's where everything starts, and that's where the connection is created between the client and a model or another talent.
Let's talk about the industry, the modeling industry. When I got into it, it was glamorous. There was like the supermodels, and modeling was only for very privileged people of age, of body size, and the beautiful men and women. Also, agencies were managing these people because you couldn't find them in the yellow pages. Internet didn't exist. Of course, everybody's fascinated about the glamour of modeling, but it has also its bad sides. But we can say that the industry changed, especially in the last 10 years, a lot. So maybe you can, from your younger perspective, and when you joined the company later, you can describe a bit what you have seen before and shortly, because more importantly, what is happening right now in this industry?
Well, yeah, from what I've seen before, is a lot of stories from my mother when she was modeling in the 90s, but also my own experience in the modeling industry before. It was to be there was very exclusive, so you had only few people who could actually participate. If you were not the right size, not the right age, they would let you know immediately that you're not the right fit for this industry. So it's quite a harsh industry as well, especially because there's a lot of people working from young age onwards. So there's that side, but also how time consuming everything was, right? So going to a casting, waiting there in line for hours, doing then the acting. There were so many people involved in the whole casting only, which was the agency would send you the proposal, then you would go there. There would be a lot of people waiting, registering you, making the videos, cutting them, sending them to the client. And this is only for the pre-selection. Then you would wait, and then some people would get selected and get the job. And also the productions, of course, huge productions. Well, depending on the client, but huge productions. So many people involved, and so it was normal that they had to have these very precise selection processes to make sure that the production goes smoothly. Which was at a time where maybe a company had to produce 1 or 2 commercials per year. So it makes sense to put most of the budget on these productions. But yeah, as the time went by, I think especially with technology and with trying to ease processes, there were alternatives. After COVID is when you could see the most that even with the normal processes of productions, you wouldn't be necessarily asked anymore to go to a casting, but you could also record a self-tape and send that to the agency directly. A self-tape is just you introducing yourself in front of the camera and saying what you would usually say at a casting. So that means that as the time went by, actually even the agencies are doing more and more processes online, so not in person anymore. And the companies, they are producing more and more content, because as we know, now it's not anymore only the TV commercial that we have to do, but we also have to think about social media presence, about our online stores as brands. So we have to do many, many more productions, which means we cannot spend all of that money on intermediaries that we could do before, and clients are just trying to cut processes out. And I think we can go into more detail later, but I think model management is really now in the time and place where it has to be. It has these processes digitalized, right? So to ease, to make that lighter for the client and make it possible to produce at lower cost and at higher speed.
So I learned a lot from you in this recent modern world. What caught my attention were 2 things you said. One is that not only what you just described, the traditional customers who would do advertising do much more content, but we have a huge amount of small companies who would never have access to advertising because they couldn't afford a TV spot or a print ad. So now, and this is massive. So we have like every little company needs content, and they have to produce content somehow. Not everybody is able to do it in-house with their own camera and putting their own face or the daughter's or sister's face, so they need people. That's one thing. And the other, which caught even more my attention, is what you just recently said about TikTok. The speed of how content has to change. So the algorithms of the social media who decide how many people can see your content. As it goes faster and faster, apparently they kick old content out after a couple of, I don't know how long it takes, but it was quite fast. So maybe you can explain a bit more about that.
Yeah, actually, I think the understanding of how much content you need comes because of my background in performance marketing, where we'd had to change creatives all of the time for different brands, and all of the searches always start with searching for talent, right? Searching for someone in front of the camera. it's also a type of modeling. You're not maybe not in front of a production team, but you're in front of the camera and representing a brand. So now, as you said, as we mentioned, TikTok ads is on every most of the brand's marketing department's desk as something that they have to solve. And TikTok ads themselves, they say you have to change your creatives every 7 days. So you can imagine from before having to do 2 productions per year. If you now want to have a presence on that platform and you want to keep up with the rhythm, you have to be able as a brand to produce content every 7 days, at least one piece of content, and probably more if you want to do A/B testing and you want to test different creatives against each other. Also, if you have presence in different countries, you even need different languages, because that's also something with TikTok that it's very audience specific. In order to be relevant. So yeah, that really, really changes the game to an extent that I think not a lot of people are aware of yet in the industry. Because the marketing budget, it's not that new marketing budget is created. It's also a shift, right? We have more than 50% already on digital, and that trend it's supposed to grow a lot in the coming years. So that means that the industry as it's structured right now with a lot of manual processes, intermediaries, is going to have to change. And it's usually the case now. First the trends come up and afterwards we adapt the way that we work. But I can see that a lot in brands that are worried now, okay, how do I solve these challenge, because I cannot afford anymore to go to an agency every time or to look for someone on social media or ask. What happens a lot, which is funny, you said that, is ask my best friend or ask someone in the company. You know, the intern often gets featured in the TikTok, but it's of course not scalable at all. So this is where we want to come in, and we want to adapt to that change as a pioneer modeling platform that doesn't only offer models, but also model content creators, as we call them, because at the end of the day, they're also models representing something in front of the camera. And for the first thing you said about all the other brands, I think now that brands also have an online presence, so or brands can be completely online. Just looking at Shopify, there's more than 4 million stores just on Shopify, and I have plenty of friends who created a brand and are selling things and are quite successful with it, but they're one man show, or just 1 or 5 people in the company, right? So more and more of these brands come, and they're digitally native. They know exactly how to use ads in their favor, and they really depend on that. So all of these brands, they are very dependent on margins that they make on their products. And they're not going to be able to afford big budgets for intermediaries. So where do they go right now, all of these brands? They don't have a place where they can find models or talents unless they do it manually, also through social media, which is not created for a search for models. And I think that's also the target that at Model Management.
But you said 50% digital spending and marketing, or more
than 50,
and the trend is going higher. No, what does it mean? So we're talking about TikTok ads, Facebook ads, YouTube ads.
Yeah, what is interesting now is that the new channels. It's not enough to put just a photo on it, right? We have this shift going more and more into video content, which is, I think, the complexity of channels like TikTok ads, who are 100% video. On Instagram, for example, or Facebook, you could do video or photo. So a lot of brands would do a combination of that and maybe reuse some material they were using anyways for other marketing purposes, because it also blended in with these kind of platforms. But TikTok, TikTok is the social media now, but it marks a trend for also social media that's going to come in the future. You can see already on YouTube, they have a similar format now. On Instagram also, they're going more and more into video and reels. So it marks definitely the trend of needing to be very good with video when you do advertisement on social media. We have still brands or the classic brands that play with the marketing of an ideology, and they still do this perfect model, and that still exists. But I think the modern brands, they understand that the youth now or the future, they want to see something that is authentic and relatable. And that also means going away from the typical 90s models and the sizes, and going towards more diverse body shapes, more diverse ethnicities, representation of more groups in advertisement. And I think that's what we've been trying to represent at Model Management since the start. We always said modeling is for everyone, and that's not, we don't say it like that. We say it because we know what clients demand, that they demand all kinds of profiles.
So we talked a lot about this kind of change between traditional modeling and how the world looks now, and in general. So what does it mean for modelmanagement.com? So you can still do castings and look for models, and you can still book them. So it's like if you're a photographer and you want to have a model coming to a studio, that's the same thing as always. But you started to build in something new, and where do you want to go with this? And can you maybe explain how the trends that you saw and now see as modelmanagement.com is how you do this transition or extension? I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I would call it more an extension that is necessary with time. I think the way, which we mentioned throughout this conversation a couple of times, the way that we see modeling is changing, or the definition of modeling is changing. While before, a model was the one always had to go to a shoot and there was a big production team involved. At the end, modeling is representing a brand in front of a camera, right? So in their advertisement campaigns. And looking at the new advertisement channels, the way that we define modeling is also changing, because if you're now reviewing a product in front of the camera for a brand and they use that on their advertisement channels, you're technically also a model. So I think what we're doing now, the transition that we're doing, is really just adapting to modeling, and we're still in the core. Well, you know it better than anyone. The DNA of model management is a disruption of the modeling industry and cutting out intermediaries to make it easier for the main two parties involved, which is the clients and the models. So this is still the case, just that now we have new kinds of needs of the clients. The clients need to have very quick access to different kinds of content. And I know that because I've been running the marketing campaigns for some other brands before this, but also for Model Management. So I always need new content to update these channels. And from Model Management, the idea came from where your version was cutting out maybe the agencies, the casting directors, and now we can even cut out more of the intermediaries, which means the whole production team. Because nowadays the advertisement on the channels like TikTok ads, Instagram ads, or even on the e-commerces, if we look at companies like Shein, who only have now user-generated content on their website, is produced at home or produced with their own mobile phones of the talents. So what does that mean? That we go from needing huge teams, photographer, makeup artist, stylist, a studio, lighting, and all of sound, all of that to needing for these channels at least a mobile phone and a talented model or creator in front of the camera. Who also becomes sometimes our creative director, because someone who is very active on TikTok is going to know best how to represent your brand on this channel. And this is, the wave that we want to ride also with Model Management as pioneers, to be the platform that doesn't only offer models, but also model content creators who can then directly create the content for you, and you can directly use it and download it from the platform. So that is where we're transitioning to.
So basically, it just needs a client who wants content, and on the other side, a talent who is doing the whole job after a brief. and there's no intermediate anymore in that case of production, right?
Exactly. So, I mean, there's always going to be cases for both. I think most of the brands need shoots in studios, and they need some productions still will have to happen, but they also need presence for other channels that don't need a big productions, and where a lot of time and cost can be saved by asking directly a model or talent for the content and sending them a brief. And having these processes on model management is supposed to ease out and make it all quicker and easier.
Let's say you can, as a small company, you can start with 50 euros on Facebook ads or Instagram ads and just do some little ads with a video like we could offer with our content creators, or they can do themselves. And then you can measure the metrics that you said, like how well does it perform. And many companies do like 3 different contents, 3 different models. And then they say, okay, this model works really well. And then they put more money on it. I think that's the trend. And that's why probably you're right with your idea and vision about where we go. I was really impressed. Like Mark and you did like a pitch where you said like our vision is that any brand can find a model within 24 hours, self-service, so no intermediate needed, no agent, nothing. Just go on the website. I need this kind of model, and then 24 hours you can book it and already, in theory, be on your studio. And the same for content creators. And once the content creator is selected, even 24 hours, the content could be produced and available to use. And this is, I think, a very promising vision, and probably why you need a lot of technology. So yeah, it's showtime now. It's getting to the end, and now we have to talk about this current investment round. Since I'm still in the lead of investors relations, I can talk a little bit about who we already have on board, because it's the 3rd round right now. I did the first, second round on my own. So we did like so-called angel investors. Angels are angel investors are people, like individuals normally, who invest smaller amounts for them, which talk about 25,000, 50,000, 100,000 euros in companies which they believe in can grow very big in the future. And I was really happy and proud to bring in amazing angels. That shows that people understand the vision of what we built. Since you are on board, we got even better investors. So we got 2 managers from Apple, California. Unfortunately, I cannot say the names because it's not in their policy that we can do advertising with the names, but they are high ranked, and one is even the highest ranked in content and marketing. So he understands what we're doing, and I'm super proud that he invested in the 2nd and now in the 3rd round. Both. Also the other manager, we have the founder of Adyen, who is one of the biggest 40 billion valued payment platform, Chris Bowers, I can say his name. We have the founder of OneFootball, the biggest soccer app in the world, also in the billion area valued. So these are people who are very helpful because they've built something. They know what we're doing. And of course, for me and now for you, it's a big support to have such experienced people, amazing people who believe in the company and guide us. I always wanted to build something significant in an industry which is a global industry, the modeling industry, which typically, these are platforms that come from the US, where then we go to Booking.com, Airbnb, and all these companies, and we just pay the money to these US companies. And why in Europe we are not able to compete? Because we don't have the same financial options that US companies have. So on average, US companies have 10 times more investments than European companies. So maybe you can explain why a company like ours, who's already 2 million users and everything that you already explained, still needs more money to build something for the future. And how does it work?
Valid question. I mean, as a tech platform, as a tech startup, we need to invest our money, most of the money, into the technology in order to make sure that all of these processes that we're talking about, the matching, the communicating with the models or with the talents or between the users, the booking, the paying, the invoicing, that all of these processes are smooth and fully
automated.
Fully automated. and that they're up to date, right? So that it's how the users are used to doing things, like you said before, signing easily online, or paying with Apple Pay, or these kind of things that you always need to innovate on. And so the main investment will go into these updates.
So you see us here as founder and co-founder, man and woman, father and daughter. So it's not only different genders, also different generations. I think that's wonderful to have the intelligence of different generations and different genders in one company. I enjoy it a lot, and I think it has a lot of value. And if you look at our employees team, so my question to Helena, because you are right now more up to date, I think we can say in terms of our modeling on talent database, we're very diverse in terms of age, gender, skin color, body size, whatever. I think we have been even leading this trend. I mean, before Vogue and other companies started to use not the typical fashion models, we have already showcased them in our Instagram stories. We have supported them, and so I'm very proud of that. But now let's talk about, are we also applying that in the team, and what about investors?
Right. I think, well, yeah, when I took over, the team has always been very even. I think, especially in tech, is mostly men, but in our sales and marketing team, or what we have here in Barcelona in-house, we have a lot of women present. And I think that was also thanks to your belief always that a woman can lead or can manage sometimes. You use your words even better than men.
Yes.
That you put more trust in them. But what I noticed a lot when I started to have conversations with our own investors and with our advisors, that was mainly coming from your circle, that it was very male dominated, and that in a company like Model Management, I think it's important also to have female advisors, female investors on board. Because of the nature of the company, because me in a leading position also, I think, we think a bit differently. I mean, it's no secret that men and women think differently, and
luckily,
and I was
good.
I was missing that representation of also my role in the investor circle, and we did a step for that, and we found some really, really good female investors who are now also my closer advisors, and I think that's I would like it to go more into that direction, and to see some strong women also join our circle of investors and team members, basically.
We would also like to have male investors who respect this diversity and who are happy to have also a female vision on the development of the company when it comes to making very important strategic decisions. I would like to give you the opportunity to make a little pitch. So why do you think somebody should today invest in modelmanagement.com and in the leading team, Helena and Mark, and me in the background as a strategic advisor? I give you 1 minute to convince the audience.
Well, thank you for not telling me that was going to happen.
Surprise, surprise.
Okay. Modelmanagement.com has been the leading platform in changing the way that the modeling industry works, in digitalizing it and making it accessible for all kinds of models and all kinds of clients. It's taking the opportunity now to extend on that with the current trend of content creation, of having more and more budgets by clients spent on modern advertising channels that don't need the whole process anymore, or the whole chain of intermediaries, and can be solved directly with technology. It's led by a team that is from the industry, so former models, producers, people who've worked in agencies and really understand how this industry works and where it's going to develop. So who believes in the vision of the future, that the trend is going towards digital, that it's going towards diversity and towards accessibility to talent at all time, and believes that we are well positioned to lead this change and to lead this industry in the future, then I think they should invest and work with us towards that goal together, because that's also important for us, that we have investors that also work with us hand in hand.
First of all, if you think that Helena and myself as father and daughter have the right vision about this industry, and that you think that we are able to build that number one platform, the winner takes it all platform in the world, where every brand, photographer, agency can find any kind of model type or content creator, and where we give models or people who want to be a model or content creator the opportunity to find work. If you believe that this is an industry that is growing rapidly, that content creation, not only modeling, also content creation, Instagram channels, TikTok, and probably many other social channels in the future, is where most of the marketing money goes, and where we have built a very good tech solution with the right vision, the right investors already on board, and maybe with you in the future as well, contributing not only with money but also with smart ideas and good choices of team members, good choices of strategy and whatever it needs. Then I think, and of course not to forget, if you want to invest in a company, in a startup, and you know what you're doing, you're not you know that the risk of investing in a startup, then just contact us and we will be very happy to give you more information. And who knows, maybe you become a shareholder of modelmanagement.com, the fastest growing currently, and maybe in the future the biggest modeling, talent and content creator platform in the world. What do you think? Is that good?
Good.
It's okay?
Yeah. I like it.
Flow was good?
It's a good elevator pitch.
I lost. Do you remember what I wanted to ask? No, I remember what I wanted to ask. So I don't know if our editor cuts this out, but for me it's okay. We are humans. I get tired after 1.5 hours sitting here. It's a long podcast, so if you still have people joining and not sleeping, or people who are in the gym still and listening to us, and they want to be a model, or they want to use the platform to find models or content creators, or they want to be content creators, what is the best way to start, Helena?
If you're interested in joining the platform, being as a talent or as a client, you just go on our website, modelmanagement.com, and you can sign up as either of the profiles. Otherwise, we also have an app, like we mentioned before. It's called Model Now, available on Android and on iOS, that you can download and do the sign up over there. And then, you just set up the profile as nicely as you can, because that's going to be your business card in the industry. And if you want to reach out to us about investment or about other related topics, or just to chat about entrepreneurship, or anything else that has inspired you about this podcast, or you want to contribute to us, then we're also always open to receive LinkedIn requests. The names, you can see them in the podcast episode, I guess. Helena von Estorff, Andreas von Estorff. The show notes. And if you just want to keep up to date about what we're doing from a business perspective, then you can connect with us on LinkedIn, a LinkedIn official model management page. And if you want to get some tips and tricks about the industry and just always see from the talent perspective what we're up to, then you can follow us on Instagram at Model Management, or on TikTok or Facebook.
And so on and so on.
And so on.
Thank you very much, Helena. We had a spontaneous idea last week to do this podcast. I liked it. I always enjoy doing podcasts, but of course, especially with you. It's a pleasure. Stay tuned and see you soon on modelmanagement.com.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
It sound right, boy.